Hello everyone, this is Larry Myers and this is Module 16 and my presentation on a case study called Internet Use Violations. Some of the things that I know from Category 1, the first part is that what do I want to know, or what do I know? First of all, I know that Roosevelt High School is in a large city, it's in an affluent area, so we have lots of parents that are doctors, lawyers, some of them are partners in law or in investment firms. We know that Dr. Stephen Forbes has been the principal for 9 years. We know that he's an established principal that is well recognized by his peers. He's won awards. He's respected by parents. His focus is on maintaining the status quo as a principal of the most prestigious high school in the state. He also works hard to recommend only the most highly qualified teacher applicants for available positions. We also know that Miss Cindy Walker was hired by Dr. Forbes 1 year before to teach specialized science classes. She's a beginning teacher, but she has an advanced degree, and she also has another year of postgraduate work, so she's a little older than most beginning teachers. She's highly structured and motivated to provide a rigorous academic environment for her students. This creates a higher stress level for her students and parents. We've had parents that have called with concerns about the academic success of their students. They're worried that about things like valedictorian and scholarships and things that they may lose if their grade point goes down because of this class. Dr. Forbes has talked to Ms. Walker about using techniques that will reduce student stress, but Ms. Walker hasn't successfully implemented his suggestions as of yet. We also know that after a long weekend, Ms. Walker was away on visiting her parents. When she returned to check her email at her apartment, she received an email that was linked to a website that made highly suggestive comments about her personal behaviors. There were vulgar curse words about her classroom, and then finally a comment that said, "Who wants Ms. Walker to disappear?" Ms. Walker immediately called Dr. Forbes, forwarded the email to him and the website. Dr. Forbes viewed both, suggested it may be a prank, but he also asked if there are any students Miss Walker thinks may be the culprit. She suggested Randy Franks, a student who makes snide comments in her classroom and also has a higher level of computer skills than the other students. Dr. Forbes tells Miss Walker he will speak to Randy on Monday morning, and he also plans to meet with her and inform the district IT department to find out if they can determine the origin of the email. The next part of this is, what do I need to know? How many students are in Miss Walker's classes? We need to know kind of maybe obtain a roster from her classes. Is it lots of students, or is it just a few students in her classes, since she's she teaches specialized courses? Which students had been struggling? Had she had any messages or had any ideas that this possibly was brewing or it may be coming up? Is Miss Walker safe? Do I need to notify the police? Should I notify the superintendent? Were there parents involved in this situation? Maybe the email and website wasn't created by a student at all. Possibly it was a parent. The main problem is to find out who sent the email and created the website. That's what we're going to work on to see what if we can find out if it was a student generated from our classroom, or was it a group of students, or like we said before, was it possibly parents? And then an underlying problem is that we need to work on Ms. Wall's teaching strategies that are causing student stress, and along with the parents, and maybe we need to talk to all staff members about this. Category 2, my proposed plan of action: interview students are in Ms. Wall's classes, notify parents if necessary, notify the superintendent and authorities if necessary, make sure we discuss the situation with Ms. Walls, work on improving Ms. Wall's approach to teaching, and then collaborate with staff to create a less stressful learning environment for all students. Some appropriate strategies that we're going to implement the plan that was in Part A: talk to Ms. Walls on Monday morning to find out how she's doing, discuss with Ms. Walls possible students that may have sent the email, work with IT to locate the origin of the email. We're going to start calling in students to interview and gather information. We also are going to discuss the information and make sure that Ms. Walls has some input into who we've talked to and what information we've obtained. and then we're going to notify parents and bring them in to discuss the situation if necessary. Another thing that we're going to have to do is contact the police and superintendent if laws or district policies have been violated. We want to make sure that we're dealing with students fairly. We want to make sure that we're involving parents as much as possible if students are accused of anything. And then if we want to make sure that we're working on helping students that have IEPs or involved with special education. There are certain restrictions that we have before we can do anything with suspensions or expelling students with IEPs. Again, we want to make sure that Ms. Walker feels safe and is ready to continue teaching. We could suggest that she take some time off if necessary until she feels ready to return. We also want to eventually talk to her about her teaching techniques that are going to help lessen the stress level of her students and parents. Let her know that it's no longer an option, that in the future we're going to have to develop a plan of action, possibly by the end of the semester. And then we want to discuss the situation with staff. We don't want to violate any privacy with the students and the parents, but we also want to make sure that we eventually work collaboratively to develop strategies for all staff that are going to lessen stress for our students. And that's going to create a better learning environment. It's also going to be able to help parents feel a little more comfortable about their students in the school. Category 3, we want to make sure that we're promoting the success of all students. So what's best for the students, depending on the situation, we want to make sure that all the students' rights are at the forefront of how the matter is dealt with. We want to make sure that parents are involved in all the decisions. If laws have been broken, we want to make sure the students' best interests are protected. We also want to make sure that the educational needs are met by the school district if the students are suspended or expelled for any amount of time. If the incident was indeed just a prank, the students should have to formally apologize. They should have to meet some type of criteria before they are allowed to use district technology in the future. Even though it may just have been a prank, they should still be held accountable. And again, we want to make sure that their privacy and their rights are protected throughout the process. Part B, resolution of the problem based on facts. We've got to make some decisions, and we want to make sure that our decisions are based on facts. We're going to question students and gather as much information as possible before proceeding. Make sure that Ms. Walker's had the opportunity to have input and has provided clear information. Make sure the information we get from the IT department is clear and complete. We don't want to make accusations without having the facts and the information and the data that the IT department will get for us. And then contact the authorities if you feel that any laws have been broken. The other facts from the incident is that Ms. Walker, we know that Ms. Walker received an email. There's a website containing derogatory information that could be considered libelous. Ms. Walker has created a stressful environment for students in her classes. Parents and students are not happy with Ms. Walker as a science teacher, and then Ms. Walker feels threatened by the incident. So those are the facts that we have up to this point. Category 4, what were you thinking, feeling, and valuing as you responded to the problem? I was thinking that this reminds me of my own school. We have a lot of students from affluent backgrounds. Their parents are professors at university. They're also doctors, lawyers. They're also involved in some of the same things as far as firms that where they make a lot of money, and so they have a lot of opportunities that other students don't have. They also tend to not have as much respect for teachers as students from less affluent backgrounds. This type of teaching in this environment has its benefits. There may be less discipline problems than schools with less affluent backgrounds have, but you're basically trading one issue for another. Students are still, I enjoy working with these students, but there still can be problems, and having affluent students has its benefits, but there's also issues that can go along with that. My other thought during this whole process was that Ms. Walker probably came from a similar background as her students. Dr. Forbes has created a high-stakes environment for students and teachers. Ms. Walker probably feels pressure from Dr. Forbes and also wants to prove herself as a new teacher. Dr. Forbes has a unique situation on his hands as he wants there to be success, but he also wants to reduce stress for students. He has established a culture of high expectation for teachers and students, so he needs to accept a little bit of the responsibility himself. What issues are still unresolved? Dr. Forbes needs to deal with the situation in Ms. Wall's classroom. We still don't know which student or students sent the email and created the website. Were laws violated by the email or website? Is there potential for this situation to occur in the future? How will it be dealt with? What can Dr. Forbes do to help his staff create a less stressful learning environment? And finally, in Category 5, we want to demonstrate a sense of integrity and ethical behavior. One of the ways that we showed that is that we contacted Ms. Walker right away after viewing the email and website. We didn't let her hang in the balance. We wanted to make sure that I wanted to make sure that she knew that she had our support. We also wanted to make sure we started that investigation right away. Maintained the privacy and the rights of students by being discreet. Contacted parents of students involved. Notified authorities and superintendent if laws were broken. And then we wanted to work to develop a better classroom environment with Ms. Walker and eventually our entire staff. The next part of Category 5 is to treat people fairly. Did we do that? Were we equitable, and did we treat people with dignity and respect? We showed that by ensuring the safety of Ms. Walker and let her know that she had our support. We didn't accuse anyone without gathering data. We provided a safe and private atmosphere for the students when we interviewed them. We contacted parents if their child was involved. We want to avoid contacting authorities unless laws have been broken. A lot of times rumors and gossip can spread when authorities are contacted. And then finally, we also want to work discreetly with all staff, students, and parents. Parents and students and staff are all going to know probably a little bit about this by the time Monday or the week is over, and we want to just make sure that everyone involved knows that we want to maintain a discreetness and make sure everyone's rights to privacy are respected. And then finally, Category 3, we want to demonstrate a personal and professional code of ethics. A big part of being an administrator is professionalism. We don't want to jump to conclusions. We want to make sure we gather facts. We showed empathy and compassion for Ms. Walker throughout the process. We wanted to know that I wanted to make sure that she knew that we had provided support for her. We wanted to make sure that we followed professional standards by following a discrete protocol. We wanted to make sure that the standards we followed are creating an efficient system, but we also want to make sure that everyone's being protected by being discreet. We manage the situation efficiently with creating a chaotic environment. We don't want to call the media. We don't want to notify authorities or create anything that's going to cause a environment that there's going to create even more gossip and rumors than there already may be. We analyze the situation by following district guidelines and policies. Develop and promoted a positive atmosphere for students, parents, and staff. Probably be a good idea to contact the district person that's in charge of legal department, make sure that we're following protocol. We also want to make sure that any special education teachers have been contacted if we have special education students involved. And then finally, we want to set high expectations for staff and students. We want to make sure that throughout this process, it can be a learning situation. We want to make sure that everyone involved and those that aren't involved, we still set high expectations, but we also want to make sure that the students have success and feel like they're in an environment that is created for their learning opportunities. I believe this is the end. Thank you. I appreciate learning a lot through this case study. This will be the final slide. Thank you.